love talking the trash, and I love how much everybody hates that I'm so good.
He'll probably start whining if my kicker goes off, but that's typical Donovan.
Terrible coach, terrible team, terrible players.
Most of the time when people are talking crap, it's because they're scared.
Now on ESPN 8, The Ocho, bringing you the finest and seldom seen sports from around the globe since 1999. If it's almost a sport, we've got it here.
The Final Four and a whole lot more. Welcome into another edition of Sgffl Today. I am your host, the Commish. Well, we are down to the Final Four teams, with each hoping Santa gifts them a trip to the championship game after this holiday weekend. Now, of the four teams, half are on opposite ends of the spectrum. We have Donovan Diker and Kurt Brausen, both champions 3 times. They're looking for that elusive fourth to be the ultimate champion in the league. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Dan Wacker looking for his first ever league title, and Gabe Stott looking for his second. Gabe's last one, though, came back in 1997.
Does that even count, being that old, though?
It does count, and a fun fact, Gabe Stott has never been back to a championship game since. Now, Gabe is playing in his 4th Final Four since that time, and first since 2017. 3-time champion Kurt Brausen, who last won the league title in 2019 and also sounds a lot like the late Norm Macdonald, spoke on his Final Four appearance and called out Coach Stott, who quickly defended his stance.
I'm just happy to be here. I really didn't think I was going to make it this far. I think I'm going to curb stomp him. A terrible coach, terrible team, terrible players. We'll put him in his place.
You know, everybody likes to make fun of the guy with bad luck. You can chalk it up to me being a bad owner, bad, not knowing what I'm doing, all that kind of fun stuff. The fact of the matter is I've had good teams in the past and have had bad luck. And not much you can really do about that. It's not an easy way. It's not easy to win in this league.
Donovan Diker, another 3-time champion, shares a little more insight on the Kurt versus Gabe showdown. And once again, Coach Stott fires back.
It's kind of funny. I mean, Gabe and I are good old buddies, but, he kind of reminds me of Brausen a little bit, except for I think Brausen's even a little bit better. Gabe he seems every year to figure out a way to screw his team up. And for once this year, he didn't figure it out. So I don't know. I think maybe he was just too busy sharpening skates, so he couldn't focus on fantasy football. So he didn't screw his team up, and it just miraculously turned out for him.
As far as I can tell, it's probably not a smart idea to count out the guy that's won 5 weeks this season and can go off at any given time. Most of the time when people are talking crap, it's because they're scared. Usually the case. I'm not going to put up with the mind games and all that kind of stuff. So it's all fine and good. We'll just let the boys play it out on the field and see what happens. And hopefully it's my guys that come out on top this time. And you never know. Maybe I get to take down Donovan in the final. That would be interesting. Now, wouldn't?
That would be very interesting indeed. And for that to happen, Donovan, the number 9 seed, would have to knock off the number 1 overall seed, Dan Wacker. Not an easy task to do. Now, with a win this week, Dan would tie a league record for most combined wins in a season at 22. That could come at the expense of Donovan Diker this week. Don searching for that league record 4th title, while Dan trying to nail down number 1.
He's one of the big managers at the Super One grocery store in town, and they got a employee strike starting, so he's been a little bit crazy at work. But we've been throwing some jabs back and forth already.
He'll probably start whining if my kicker goes off, but that's typical Donovan.
Trust me, if I have any sort of a lead Sunday, I'm gonna fill up his phone with lots of beeps.
Anybody poses a threat to anybody. So like I said, I mean, Higgins had a good week last week for him. If he does that, if Brock Purdy puts up 4 touchdowns again like he's been doing, I mean, you can add points up quick.
Quite frankly, I look at myself as those, hey, if you play a guy 100 times, maybe you'll beat him once. I'm hoping this weekend is the once for me because he does have a dominant team this year.
Hopefully I can just actually get the win this time and actually make it to the finals.
It's kind of rewarding when I have these seasons now because I know people like Jay and Gabe to a certain extent, and a couple of those other guys are just grinding their teeth pissed off that Big D's back.
Let's turn our attention to more of the league. A quick dive into the toilet bowl standings. We start in the kiddie pool with a showdown between father and son. The winner of Scott versus Julius Gross will advance to the toilet bowl and be assured of a top 2 pick. Scott Specker, who finished with the worst record in the league, is locked in now at the number 3 overall pick in 2024. To the other end of the pool, off the deep end we go, a 4-way tie. We'll have to wait and see who wins this week and also scores the most points to break the tie. Anything can happen. Every team is in play this week, including the 8 teams who are knocked out of the playoffs. We have an 8-team battle royale fight to the death. The last team standing will win $50. And to draw the random pairings is the lovely Melissa Zaremba.
Closing my eyes.
And the first team that she pulls out,
Chris.
all right, Chris,
Woo, Chris.
is Chris Jetton. Chief Green Nugs was the Cousins Division champion this season, knocked out after the bye. He'll play
Ken. Hey, Ken, I remember you. Hi.
Ken Colavani. Team Rico, Uncle Rico, the last team to get into the playoffs as the 12 seed, notched that big upset in the opening round. Again, our first matchup is Chris versus Ken. The winner of this game will play the winner of the next 2 teams drawn by Melissa. Back to Melissa we go.
Trevor.
The third team drawn is Trevor Gross. Now, I had Trevor pegged as a team that had a solid roster entering the playoffs, wasn't able to get out of the first round.
Okay. Bert.
Bert Kimmin is the draw. Back to the wall with Melissa with our second matchup. Bert's Badasses and TBG's BBDs. The winner will take on the winner of Chris and Ken. On to the next pairing. Melissa, next name pulled out.
Brandon. Hey, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Brandon Mejia in Black and Silver Lives Matter. He won his first playoff game ever this year. Austin Dickman, DOD. He was the number 3 overall seed. Austin was upset last week by Big D. Melissa back at the wall for our third pairing, Brandon versus Austin. And the winner of this fight to the death will square off against our final pairing. Melissa will pull out the final 2 names out of the helmet.
Bob.
All right.
Bob and Jason.
And there you have it. Bob and Jason will roll up their sleeves and duke it out this weekend. Again, another look at the 4 pairings. The winner of this 8-team playoff, again, will win $50. They'll salvage something of their season. Chris versus Ken, Trevor versus Bert, and then the next bracket will be Brandon against Austin and Bob Polkamp versus Jason Gross. So there you have it. The gifts are under the tree, with all 20 teams having something to look forward to this Christmas weekend. The championship trophy will either stay in the Brainerd Lakes area or make its way down to the Twin Cities, or for the first time ever, make its way to the desert of Arizona. Next week, it's championship week. We'll preview the championship game and also the toilet bowl finale. And that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays to you and yours from all of us at the Sgffl. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next week.
That's what this is all about, is the bragging rights, right? You know, we talk the crap on the chats and do that stuff. And for me, that's what this is all about. I mean, yeah, it's fun to win, but just kind of still being together with the guys through the chats. You know, we're all in different parts of the country and don't see each other hardly at all, but giving each other shit every Sunday sure is fun.